Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel and to today's video, which is going to be, I don't want to say it's like a ranking video, but it's like my favorite neutral-ish palettes. I think some of you may argue with me that these are not truly neutral palettes, but they're kind of like neutral that I like. And it's my channel, so I'll do what I want. Anyway, yeah, so if you would love to see some of my absolute favorite neutral palettes, please keep watching. Alright, hey everyone, Carolyn here again. So if you've been watching my channel for a minute, you know that I'm not like all about that neutral eyeshadow life. I do tend to like a lot of color, although I am wearing something pretty subdued and quite neutral today. But I actually do like some neutral eyeshadow palettes. It's not like what I'm gonna like, I said like 100 times there. It's not the palettes I'm going to turn to every day, but you need to have, I think, some of those neutral palettes around for like an everyday or like a serious type of thing, or just when you feel no inspiration whatsoever for color and you just need to look your best, I guess. I don't know. That sounds really corny, but we're gonna roll with it and we're gonna stay there. Both cats are here with me, although you can't see them. Actually, do you see that there's like a lump? Oh, where am I? Like a lump right there? That is Betty. That is Betty right there. It's so hot in here, I cannot see how he wants to dive under any covers. But I'm not a cat, I don't know. So, what I tried to do here is I pulled out some of my favorites. They're all at slightly different price points, so they're not all super expensive and they're not all super cheap. So it's like a mixture of just my favorite ones. So let's start with probably my absolute favorite neutral palette. If you've seen any videos where I'm ranking palettes before, you've probably seen this one. And this is the Colourpop Double Entendre palette. Sorry, it's, you can see my ring light, hello. This is what she looks like. This is quite an old one. I think I bought this almost 2 years ago now when I was at an Ulta in the States. And ever since I bought it, this has pretty much been my go-to neutral palette. And this row here, this is my everything row. Just these ones there. That, it's like you need an eye look quickly and you need it to look good and you don't want to worry about it. That row does that for me. It just is like an everything, works perfectly. The tones in here, they're more on the cool tone side of the browns, and so they're not too overwhelming. They blend together really nicely, and then you have this lovely shimmer that goes on top, and it's just like a perfect quad. Really, I would just like, actually this is what I should do next time I go traveling, is just pop out this bottom 4 and put that in like a little magnetic palette and take that with me, because they are perfect. I think this one is still available. I'll make sure and link all of these down below. I don't think anything is not available anymore. I don't think so. But I love this. It's what, $12 US, something like around there. So it's definitely on the cheaper side. It's very good quality, and I personally think it's the best Colourpop neutral palette. A lot of people might say the Going Coconuts palette is better, but I think this one is superior to that. So I love this one. I don't know, do I need to say more? I don't think so. It's good. Okay, so one that's pretty brand new to my collection, but I was wearing it like all week, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I flipping love this now, and that is the Juvia's Place Nomad palette. This is my type of neutral palette, which is more in the grungy, green, yellowy kind of tones. So this one, like these colors here, like this olive kind of khaki color down here is so pretty. The yellow is so beautiful. This kind of olivey deep green, and then the browns down here, they all work so beautifully together. And I have not been a big fan of Juvia's Place, but this is so good. And I just love the color story in here. It's kind of like my perfect, more neutral, more muted palette. Actually, thinking about that, I'm going to add another one to my list in here that almost is the same kind of color story. But I love this. I think it's so pretty. And you could argue that it's a bit bright. You could be like, Carolyn, it has a bright yellow, it has a bright orange. But for me, it's such a muted color story that to me, it's what I think of as neutral. So more on the mellow side of things, not the electric pops of color. And also these, like this shimmer here, which is just this like deep kind of, oh, so nice, so pretty, like that all over the lid. Heaven. Beautiful. So pretty. So yeah, the Nomad, Juvia's Place, love this one. I think it's my favorite Juvia's Place one. I still have to try the Violets one, but I think this is going to be my top. Okay, this one I actually reviewed at the very, very beginning of my channel, and that is the Fenty Snap Shadow in the number 7. So I also tried the number 2. I didn't care for it, but this one, I love it, and I love the little color story in here. And again, it's kind of, do I have something in my mouth? It always feels like there's cat hair in my mouth. Yum. Anyway, so I reviewed this and I absolutely love it, and I think it has almost an identical color story to the Juvia's Place one, but it's just a little 6-pan travel-y kind of dude. So I really like this one. I think the Juvia's Place one is a better quality, but if you like the Fenty shadow formula, I think this was the best of the Snap Shadows, and I really love this little color story. This one here, this deep kind of gray green, is so pretty. I love this, and I also really like this one here. This kind of shimmery gold yellow kind of color. So pretty. It works really, really well. Ho ho ho, yeah. Look at that. Can you even see on the light? There we go. So pretty. So I really liked this one. I know a lot of people were kind of meh about the Snap Shadows, but this one I think was a really excellent one, and it's a good addition to my neutral, I'm buying the same palette 100 times kind of collection, because it's going to start to look like that real soon. Another one that I love, and I think it's more neutral, is going to be the Naked Honey. I do have a full review of this one. I will link all the reviews that I have down below for some of these products, so if you're interested. I love this. And for me, this is definitely, sorry, I know it's going to be very bright, this is definitely a neutral palette to me, okay? It's more browns, there's some golds, they go deeper and kind of more warm colored, and then you can kind of go lighter, and like these goldy colors right there are just so pretty. Honey is just this amazing bright gold. So nice right there. Which other one did I like? Golden. Oh yeah, look at that one. That is really pretty. So this is definitely a more gold neutral palette, but to me it's like, especially the mattes are all really neutral in here, so for me this is definitely a neutral palette. I think of all the Urban Decay ones I've tried in the last, I don't know, 6 months, I think this is the best one. So if you were thinking about picking up an Urban Decay one, this is the one that I would probably recommend the most. I do like the Ultraviolet quite a bit, but I know there was a lot of mixed opinions about that, and it also does need some more mattes. Let's just be honest there. But I think this one was one of their best releases of the last year from Urban Decay, the Honey palette. So I really like it. It's a little bit pricey, but I do think you are getting some pretty good quality with that one. In a very similar color vein, we have the Rust palette by Melt. And this one was one of my absolute favorite Melt palettes because the quality of the shadows was so... I've used it quite a bit since I filmed with it, and I love it. I think it is a really beautiful, warm-toned, more neutral-leaning palette. I like the ratio of mattes to shimmers. For me, this is pretty much perfect, where it's more mattes and just a few shimmers, and everything works really well. I think Melt, we all can appreciate, it's been a little bit hit or miss the last year. The 420 palette, I thought it was okay, but it wasn't great. I think this one was one of their best ones, and it is a really beautiful, more on the neutral leaning side palette. Again, this one, the Honey palette, these are both going to be more on the warm neutral side, almost leaning towards yellows, and the same with the Nomad and the Fenty one. They're more on the yellow neutral side, although these ones have some greens in them, some deep earthy greens. So as much as I say I love cool tone shadows, I think some of the best neutral ones are actually these more warmer toned ones with more yellow leaning, because I really think yellow looks nice on my skin color. So I think that's probably why I'm gravitating towards them. Still in that same kind of vein, I quite have enjoyed the Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture palette. And again, to me, this is more neutral because of how muted the tones are. It is slightly more colorful because you have some slightly brighter greens and that pop of yellow. But you can see that this one and the Nomad palette and the Fenty one, they're almost the same kind of inspiration, which is grungy green kind of stuff. But this, I love it. This is, I guess, the reformulated one, not the original Subculture one, that was problematic, I guess, at the time. I really like this. The only thing is I've kind of gotten the hard pan on this electric shade here. which is a shame because it's really beautiful, but I'm sure I can kind of dig it out. And I think this one here, Cube, I got a bit of hard pan. So those two shimmers, unfortunately, did hit a bit of hard pan, but the others, all the mattes work beautifully, and I really enjoy this. So I think if you like these colors, you could do the Subculture, but if you wanted a cheaper one that probably works a little bit better, actually I might go for the Nomad, because these are really, really similar color story, except that this one doesn't have like a red-ish kind of color. So I quite like the Subculture palette. I think it's good. Okay, just a few more to go. So again, I have done a video on these. These are the Huda Beauty Obsessions, the Nude Obsessions. So this is the medium one there. And then this is the rich. I also have the light colored one, but this is my favorite one, which is the rich. So it's nude, so it's supposed to be more on the neutral side. Oops, where's the hair? But to me, these definitely lean more on the pinky side. So I think all of these are actually really nice. The whole trio of these Nude Obsessions was really, really good. Much better than the Pastel Obsessions. I do have a video on these. I really like them. I think they complement each other really well. But the favorite was the Rich palette. I think it is almost like a purple mauve palette. And if you want another one similar to this, you could do the Melt Cheese and Parties palette instead, which is really similar in kind of color story to this. But I really like this palette, and I think these are a good kind of on the pinky neutral side if you are interested in that kind of a color story. So I enjoy these. I think they're really good quality. And I think they're some of the better products that Huda has put out are these ones. I think I also really like the larger eyeshadow palettes. So those ones are good. The only ones I haven't really liked were those pastel palettes, but pastels are hard. I think a good all-rounder neutral palette has got to be the Nabla Dreamy, the Dreamy 2. And I enjoy the heck out of this. You can see it's been very, very well used. And you wouldn't maybe initially think it's a neutral, but if you look at the mattes, so we have two of the latex mattes, so it's a cream to matte. We have 1, 2, 3 regular mattes. They are all neutral colors, kind of brown to reddy browns, okay? And then the topper shades, yes, they are purple, but they are actually quite sheer. So when they go out on the skin, like it looks like it's a lot there, but when you blend it out, it's just a light wash of color. So it's actually really subtle, and it can go over the other shades really nicely. So, sorry, getting hot in here. It's still very hot today. Not as hot as yesterday, but very hot today. So I think this is amazing. The one I don't have is I want to get the Dreamy 1, the original Dreamy, and kind of compare it against this one. Sorry, squeaky chair. But I think this is a really good all-rounder, more neutral palette, because you have the really straightforward neutrals, but then you can also have a little bit of fun with it. And I think that's what makes this palette so special, is that kind of these interesting shades like Hidden Place, which just looks like a kind of it can look purple from one end, or it can look kind of bronzy from another. This is what it is. It's kind of like a bronze, and then it can look a little bit purple. So you have these really cool colors in there. So I love this. I think this is an amazing, more on the neutral side palette. This one I do take traveling with me because it's kind of like a good wherever you are, whatever situation. And the last one, because, well, if the Nomad palette was neutral, then shouldn't the Kaleidos Sci-Fi green palette be neutral? It's not. Okay, it's a green palette, but I love it. And I think for me, this is a kind of a neutral-ish kind of look. It's more on the grungy side, more on the kind of just, it's a soft look. Am I cheating? Yes. Is this actually a neutral palette? No, but it's kind of feels like it a little bit to me. I just love this palette. I think this, by far, is my favorite Kaleidos product that they've come out with completely. I love this palette so much. I really recommend it. I love it. Anyway. Alright guys, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Just a fun little one talking about some of my favorite neutral palettes. Maybe. I think they are arguable. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below on some neutral palettes that you love, that you would recommend, maybe I should try out in the future. And yeah, that's going to be it. So I hope you all have a really lovely day wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye. Get out of the heat, it's so hot. Bye bye.